Okay, welcome to the return of a series I haven't done in a couple months. This is Nick Lenz's movie reviews. Yeah, I haven't done one of these in a couple months, mainly because I wanted to take a break from them. And I figured though, 2 months is a good amount of break. So, I have some DVDs basically to discuss, so let's discuss them. First up is Blade. Yes, released in 1998. Starring, obviously, by the cover, the awesome Wesley Snipes as Eric Brooks, aka Blade. Though they refer to him, that his real name is never technically revealed in the movie. They hint at it in the sequel, but not really no. Now, the thing with Blade is, now, he's a character from the comic books. Yes, this was actually a Marvel movie. Now, unlike other movies basically based on Marvel Comics, which had the Marvel logo, this one did not. As a matter of fact, it was never promoted as a movie based on a comic book, yes. But a Marvel comic book? No. Now there's some interesting things about this movie. One thing, of course, is that prior to this movie, Wesley Snipes not going to be Blade. First, he was going to be the Black Panther. Yep. He was trying to produce a Black Panther movie in the early 90s. Which didn't get off the ground, though eventually a Black Panther movie was made back, I think it was like 2018, I think it was. No, like 2017, I think it was, yes. Without Snipes, but with the late Chadwick Boseman as basically Black Panther. Though his version of Black Panther was actually a lot different than the one we are familiar with. Yeah. So, he basically picked Blade as the as choice number 2. Okay. We also have some co-stars in here. We also have Chris Christopherson, who, according to my dad, who's a big country music fan, Chris Christopherson is a famous screenwriter. Well, basically, a songwriter. Yes, writing a ton of songs, singing here and there. According to my dad, he's an okay singer, but not as good as a lot of their big ones. But if you look at his filmography, is basically his discography, you're probably thinking, hey, I've been with some of those songs. Yeah, he wrote them. And when it comes to movies, this is one of a few type of movies he's been in. Outside of this film series, he's appeared in a few movies here and there, but that's it. He plays Blade's mentor, Whistler, who is as far as I can tell, a film-only character because, well, technically they did have a Whistler pop up on the Spider-Man animated series, though a completely different character. But is this character in the comics? No, he isn't. Aside from Blade, there is technically one other character from the comics movie. And that's the villain. Deacon Frost. Yep, Deacon Frost from the comics too. Except he was basically not like he was in the movie. In the comic books, he's basically like a Victorian era style gentleman who just happened to be a vampire. In the movie, he was a turned vampire who is very emo. And there was also blood vampires, people who've been vampires for centuries, who were basically born vampires. Like, how the heck is that even possible? Apparently, to become a vampire, it's impossible to have children. At least that's some depictions of basically people become vampires in fiction. This movie was also the first movie to show people become vampires actually enjoying being vampires. Yeah, someone pointed this out, though, in a documentary about this movie, that this is the first one to pick this, where people become vampires and actually enjoy it. They enjoy being vampires. You're probably thinking, wait, like, is this true? Technically, no. The person who mentioned this apparently forgot about Lost Boys. Which, the way that was depicted, yeah, all those guys love being vampires. But, my guess is, here's the thing. Lost Boys was directed by Joel Schumacher. You're probably thinking, Joel Schumacher, as in the guy who directed Batman Forever and Batman and Robin? Same guy, but that was what he directed. Good movies, not cheesy movies that are trying to be kind of bad. This movie is, well, it's written by David S. Goyer, but he's not the director until the third movie. Oh no, this movie is directed by Stephen Norrington. Yes, this guy. We're thinking, that name sounds very familiar. Like, what movies does this guy direct? Well, off the top of my head, aside from this movie, he directed The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and I believe he also directed Van Helsing in the first two Mummy movies. That's it I can think of. Yeah. Now, this movie opens up basically with a rave. Well, basically, vampires in a nightclub. Blade show up basically massacring all these people. The vampires are perfectly fine. He uses not typical stuff. When you think of vampire slaying, you think of like garlic, holy water, steaks. Well, he technically doesn't use that. He uses a couple different weapons. He uses a machine gun laced with essence of garlic. And I think they're also blessed bullets. Also, you can see in the cover, he has this awesome sword, which he uses it to decapitate vampires. Yes, not stick it to the heart, chop off their head. Oh, and in case you're curious, though, about the whole thing about, like, vampires breaking the crosses, well, this is one of two depictions of that where the crosses don't work at all. The only other time seeing this happen where a cross does not work against a vampire is actually an episode of Smallville where Lana Lang was turned into a vampire. Not kidding about that. I'm like, really? Yeah. Of course, the movie was released in 1998. Now, in the case of comic book movies, yes, it was released the same year as Batman and Robin. But you know what movie was released the previous year? Spawn! Yes, Spawn was released the previous year. With horrible hell, with the CGI graphics in hell. And in 2 years after this movie was released, we had X-Men. Now, this is the first Marvel movie to actually be a hit. Not as big as his X-Men, the first X-Men movie, but actually a movie that makes tons of money. Which, that is quite something. Because, here's the thing. When our movies were made prior to this, they were box office bombs. Like Howard the Duck, which is a guilty pleasure of mine. Or the Unbelievable Fantastic Four movie. Yeah. So, after he kills those, so apparently Deacon Frost, basically his plan is to resurrect some vampire god in order to take over the world. Like any other person would do. And Blade himself basically gets involved with basically somebody with a medical examiner. Mm-hmm. Yep. So, he involves her the whole movie, and there's something quite strange about Blade. Like, in this movie and the next movie, he had this thing where he had this woman who followed him around, and it's quite possible he had a thing for this woman, but it went nowhere because this character didn't show up again in the movie. Now, the thing about Blade's look in the movie, that is not his look from the comics, believe it or not. You want to know what his look, and this was strange even for, like, now was Blade black in the comics? Yes, that part was true. Yep. Now, Blade's first look was this. This right here. This was Blade's first look in the comics. Which by thinking, that doesn't look much different from this. Kind of, yes. I mean, the only difference is the fact he's wearing a big coat. The thing is, after this movie's release, Blade himself would wear this look on and off mostly for the next 20 years, though he would occasionally go to the Sticky Fingers look, the one where he does not wear the coat and he's bald. Now, this is a cool look for Blade, with the sunglasses, the black suit, the trench coat, the shaved off near the hair, lined with the tattoos. Yeah, that was a cool look for Blade. And I think that Marvel Comics must have loved that look so much. They made it a definitive look for Blade for most of the time he's been picked to comics since like 2000. So Blade trying to stop him, of course, still killing off other vampires. Also, he does not trust police this movie for a good reason. Basically, because the police depicted in this movie are on the payroll of the vampires. Yep. Though, the thing is, if you read the series Bushirukin, they took inspiration from this movie, where they have familiars. Yes, that's simply what they are, familiars. They are simply put like people who will potentially become vampires, but who also are servants. Yep. Now, this movie have any weaknesses? Oh, yes, it does. Very terrible CGI toward the movie where you had Deacon Frost turn into the vampire god. Yeah, this was like... Yeah, this is the only part of this movie that did not hold very well. Because everything else in the movie, this movie looks fantastic looking movie. And yet, only the ending fight sequence is the only thing not holding up to this very day. Because here's the thing, that was not the original ending. Oh no, the original ending was simply Blade fighting his blood gloop. That was the original end of the movie. And apparently that was a no-no, so switch off for the ending we have here, which is okay. Oh, and how does Blade kill him? A bomb. Yep. Also, he develops basically using flash grenades. Well, somewhat anyways. Also, he drives a very cool Mustang. I believe it's a Mustang. And this overall is a good movie. I give this movie a rating of a 9 out of 10. It's a great movie. And it's a good start to the trilogy. Yes, trilogy. Now you're probably thinking, why am I reviewing this now? Pure and simple. There is a remake coming with the guy who played Cottonmouth from the series Luke Cage. Yeah, he's on playing Blade, which is going to be interesting. Now, Snipes himself is wanting to play Blade again in order to make it happen with their movie. Which, the way it's going now, no, that's not going to happen. Yep, so yeah, that's it for this particular review. Stay tuned for tomorrow for my reviews for ReZero, 7 Deadly Sins, and another review where I'll discuss Blade 2. Yep, see you next video. Bye.